The stars looked different from the bridge of the alien ship Nexus Prime. Commander Vexistar had seen thousands of star systems in his 40 years of space travel, but this one felt strange. His long gray fingers moved across the control panel as he checked the readings again. "Sir, we have something on the sensors," called Science Officer Kethral from his station. His voice carried a note of confusion. "There is a ship coming from the third planet." Vextar walked over to look at the display screen. A small dot moved slowly across the star map. The ship was not very big, maybe half the size of their own vessel. But what made it unusual was how it moved. Most ships they met either ran away fast or came at them ready to fight. This one just kept coming at a steady, calm speed. "Can you tell what kind of ship it is?" Vextar asked. Kethral pressed some buttons and shook his head. "I have never seen anything like it, sir. The design is very strange. It does not look like a warship, but it also does not look like a trade ship." On the human ship Sacred Journey, Captain Deho stood looking out at the alien vessel through the main window. His crew had been traveling for 6 months to reach this system. They came here to build a place where people could pray and find peace on a distant world. Now they found something they never expected: other intelligent life. "Mi Young, can you get us closer?" Deho asked his navigator. Mi Young, a young woman with short black hair, nodded as she worked at her controls. "Yes, Captain. Should I try to talk to them?" "Not yet," Deho said. "Let's see what they do first." Behind them, Engineer Tae-Jin checked his screens. "Captain, their ship is much more advanced than ours. Their engines are putting out energy, levels we can barely measure." Sora, the communications officer, looked up from her station. "I'm getting some kind of scanning beam from them. They're looking at our ship very carefully." Deho nodded. He had expected this. When two different groups met for the first time, each side wanted to know about the other. "Let them scan us," he said. "We have nothing to hide." Back on the alien ship, Kethral was getting more confused by the minute. The scan results made no sense. "Commander, you need to see this," he said. Vextar came over and looked at the data. His 4 eyes went wide. "This cannot be right. Run the scan again." "I have run it 3 times, sir. The results are the same each time." The scan showed that the human ship had almost no weapons. There were a few small defense systems, but nothing that could really fight another ship. Most of the ship's space was taken up by large open rooms. The cargo areas were full of strange items: books, musical instruments, and art supplies. "What kind of species builds a spaceship without proper weapons?" asked Tactical Officer Zoran as he joined them. "Maybe they are very peaceful," suggested. Kethral Zoran made a sound that might have been laughter. "No species gets to space travel by being peaceful. They must be hiding something." Vextar studied the readings more. The ship's power systems were much weaker than what most space-traveling species used. But there was something else. The ship had very strong communication systems and what looked like broadcast equipment. "Maybe they are traders," Vextar said. "Or perhaps they spread information." On the Sacred Journey, the crew was having their own meeting. Deho had called together his senior staff and some of the passengers. "We all know why we're here," Deho began. "We came to build a spiritual center on the 4th planet in this system. We never thought we would meet other intelligent beings." Pastor Hyunwoo, an older man with gray hair, spoke up. "Perhaps this is meant to happen. Maybe we are supposed to meet them." Buddhist monk Ji-hoon, who had been quiet until now, nodded. "All life is connected. If we have found each other among all these stars, there must be a reason." Yoonji, who helped coordinate between different religious groups on their ship, looked worried. "But what if they don't understand what we're trying to do? What if they think we're dangerous?" Tae-Jin checked his screens again. "Captain, they're still scanning us, but they haven't done anything hostile. Their weapons are not powered up." "That's a good sign," Sora said. "Maybe they're as curious about us as we are about them." Deho made his decision. "Sora, try to contact them. Send a simple message. Just let them know we want to talk." Sora worked at her station for several minutes. She tried different frequencies and signal types. Finally, she got a response. "Captain, I think I've got something. They're sending back a mathematical sequence. It looks like they're trying to show they understand we want to communicate." On the alien ship, communications specialist Nexil was working hard to decode the human signals. "Commander, they are definitely trying to talk to us. The message is very simple. They just want to communicate." "Any signs of deception?" Vexitar asked. "No, sir. The signal is clean and direct. No hidden codes or virus programs." Vexitar thought about this. In all his years of space travel, he had met many different species. Some were traders, some were warriors, and some just wanted to be left alone. But he had never met anyone who approached first contact with such calm openness. "Send them a reply," he ordered. "Keep it simple. Mathematical concepts they can understand." For the next hour, the two ships exchanged basic mathematical and scientific concepts. The humans showed they understood physics and chemistry. The aliens showed they knew about different star types and planetary systems. Slowly, both sides began to relax. Neither ship had taken any hostile actions. The communications were friendly and patient. "Sir," Keithral said to Vextar, "I think they really are peaceful. Look at their ship's design again. Everything about it suggests they build things to last a long time and to be comfortable for many people." Vexitar nodded. He was starting to think the same thing, but it still seemed impossible. How could any species survive long enough to reach the stars without being good at fighting? On the human ship, Deho was feeling hopeful. "They seem willing to talk," he told his crew. "Maybe we can learn from each other." "Should we tell them why we're here?" Mi-young asked. Deho thought about this. Their mission was to spread peace and spiritual understanding. If these aliens were friendly, maybe they would be interested in learning about human beliefs. "Let's take it slow," he said. "First, we learn more about them. Then we can share our story." As the two ships continued their careful dance in space, both crews wondered what would happen next. The aliens had never met a species like humans, and the humans had dreamed of this moment but never knew it would really happen. The first day of contact between humans and the galaxy had begun. Neither side knew yet how much this meeting would change everything. Science Officer Kethral had been staring at his computer screen for 3 hours. The numbers did not make sense. He had run the deep scan on the human ship 5 times, and each time he got the same impossible results. "Commander Vexitar," he called across the bridge. "You really need to see this." Vextar walked over, his boots making soft clicking sounds on the metal floor. "What is it, Kethral?" "Sir, I've finished the complete analysis of their ship, but the results are strange." Vextar looked at the data on the screen. The human ship was 400 meters long and carried about 200 people. But that was where normal ended and strange began. "Look at this," Kethral pointed to a section of the ship's layout. "This big room here takes up almost 1/4 of their ship, but it's just empty space with rows of seats all facing the same direction." "Maybe it's for meetings," Vexitar suggested. "That's what I thought too. But look at these other rooms." Kethral switched to a different view. "This one has no furniture at all, just open floor space. And this one is filled with musical instruments. And look here, room after room of books, thousands and thousands of books." Vextar studied the images. In all his travels, he had seen many different ship designs. Warships were built for fighting. Trade ships were built for carrying cargo. Science ships were built for research. But this ship seemed built for something else entirely. "What about their cargo holds?" Vextar asked. Kethral brought up another screen. "This is the strangest part, sir. No metals for building, no weapons for trading, no rare minerals or gems. Instead, they have art supplies, more books, musical instruments, and what looks like ceremonial clothing." Tactical Officer Zoran joined them at the station. "Are you sure they're not hiding weapons somewhere, maybe in secret compartments?" "I've scanned every inch of that ship," Kethral said. "There are no hidden areas. What you see is what they have." On the human ship, Deho was meeting with his senior staff and passengers. The main meeting room was filled with people from many different backgrounds. There were Christian pastors, Buddhist monks, Muslim imams, Jewish rabbis, and Hindu priests. There were also scientists, teachers, artists, and musicians. "We've made good progress talking with the alien ship," Sora reported. "We can now exchange simple concepts and ideas. They seem very curious about us." "Have they asked about our mission yet?" asked Pastor Hyunwoo. "Not directly," Sora replied. "But they keep scanning our ship. They must be wondering what we're doing out here." Yoonji, who worked to help different religious groups work together, raised her hand. "Maybe we should just tell them the truth. We came here to build a place where people of all beliefs can come to pray and find peace." Taejin looked worried. "But what if they don't understand? What if they think religion is dangerous or foolish?" Buddhist monk Ji-hoon spoke in his quiet voice. "All beings seek meaning and peace. Perhaps these aliens do too, even if they express it differently." Daeho nodded. "Ji-hoon is right. But let's learn more about them first." Sora asked them about their home and their culture. Back on the alien ship, communications specialist Nexil was working hard to understand the humans' latest message. "Commander, they're asking about our homeworld and our society. Should I tell them?" Vextar thought about this. Sharing information about their civilization could be dangerous, but these humans seemed genuinely peaceful. Tell them basic facts, he decided. Our world, our species, how we travel among the stars, but nothing about military strength or politics. For the next few hours, the two ships exchanged information about their cultures. The aliens learned that humans came from a world with many different countries and languages. The humans learned that the aliens belonged to something called the Galactic Federation, which included hundreds of different species. But the more they learned, the more confused the aliens became. "Sir," Cathrall said to Vextar, "they say they have wars on their planet, but this ship has no weapons. They say they have different countries that sometimes fight, but these humans work together peacefully. How is this possible?" Zoran was looking at the scan results again. "Maybe they're the warriors of their species and they've given up fighting to become something else. Or maybe," suggested Nexil, "they represent only the peaceful humans, while the dangerous ones stayed home." Vexitar was not satisfied with any of these explanations. What exactly did they say about their mission? Nexil checked his communication logs. They said they came to build something they call a spiritual center. They want to create a place for worship and prayer and finding inner peace. The bridge fell silent. None of the aliens knew what to make of this. "What is worship?" asked Zoran. "What is prayer?" asked Cathrall. Vextar had lived for 200 years and commanded ships for half that time. He had met species that fought for territory, species that traded for profit, and species that explored for knowledge. But he had never heard of a species that traveled between stars for worship. "Maybe we should ask them to explain," he suggested. On the human ship, Sora received the aliens' questions with surprise. "Captain, they want to know what worship means, and what prayer is. They don't seem to understand the concepts." Daeho felt a mix of sadness and excitement. Sadness that these advanced beings might not know about spiritual life. Excitement that humans might be able to share something beautiful with them. "How do we explain faith to someone who has never experienced it?" asked Hyunwoo. "The same way. We explain it to anyone," said Eunji. "With simple words and honest examples." Ji-hoon stood up. "Perhaps we should show them, not just tell them. Actions speak louder than words in any language." "What do you mean?" Daeho asked. "We could invite them to watch one of our services. Let them see how we worship and pray. Then they can decide for themselves what it means." The suggestion created a buzz of conversation in the room. Some people thought it was a wonderful idea. Others worried it might be too strange or frightening for the aliens. "It's a big risk," Taejin said. "What if they think we're crazy? What if they decide we're dangerous because we believe in things they can't understand? But what if they're searching for the same things we are?" countered Hyunwoo. "What if they've been looking for meaning and peace but just don't know how to find it?" Daeho considered this carefully. His mission was to spread understanding and peace. Maybe this was the perfect opportunity to do exactly that. "Let's ask them," he decided. "We'll explain what we want to show them and let them choose whether to watch or not." Sora sent the message to the alien ship. She explained that humans gathered together to worship, which meant showing respect and love for something greater than themselves. She said they wanted to invite the aliens to observe one of their ceremonies. When the message reached the alien ship, it created quite a stir. The crew gathered around to discuss this strange invitation. They want us to watch them perform some kind of ritual, Nexil explained. Is it dangerous? Asked Zoran. They say it's about peace and love and connecting with something greater, Nexil replied. Kethral looked at his scan results again. Sir, if we're ever going to understand these humans, we need to see what makes them different. This might be our chance. Vextar made his decision. Tell them yes. We will observe their ceremony, but we'll watch from our ship through video link. We need to be careful until we understand what we're dealing with. As the two ships prepared for this unprecedented cultural exchange, both crews felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The humans were about to share their most sacred practices with beings from another world. The aliens were about to witness something they had never seen before in all their travels across the galaxy. Neither side knew that this moment would change everything they thought they knew about intelligent life in the universe. Commander Vextar stood in his private quarters, staring at the communication device on his desk. The decision to call the Galactic Federation Council was not easy, but he had no choice. What his crew had discovered about the humans was too important to keep secret. He activated the device and waited. Soon, holographic images of council members appeared in his room. There was War General Thaxon of the Draconian Empire, his red scales gleaming under the lights. Elder Lumara of the Celestial Collective appeared as a tall, graceful being surrounded by a soft blue glow. Fleet Admiral Korthak of the Military Defense Corps looked stern and serious. Several other representatives from different species completed the emergency council. Commander Vextar, War General Thaxon, spoke first, his voice deep and threatening. Your message said this was urgent. What have you found? Vextar took a deep breath. Honored council members, we have made contact with a new species. They call themselves humans, and they come from the third planet in this system. Another warlike species, I assume? Asked Fleet Admiral Korthak. Do they pose a threat to Federation space? No, Admiral. That is why I called this emergency meeting. These humans are different. Elder Lamara leaned forward with interest. Different how, Commander? Vextar activated his ship's scanner data and projected it for the Council to see. They have achieved interstellar travel, but their ship carries no significant weapons. Their cargo consists of books, art, and musical instruments. Most strange of all, they say they are here to build something called a spiritual center. The council members looked at each other in confusion. War General Thaxon was the first to speak. Impossible. No species survives long enough to reach the stars without mastering warfare. They must be lying or hiding their true nature. I thought the same thing, Vextar replied. But we have scanned their ship completely. There are no hidden weapons or secret military technology. What you see is what they have. Fleet Admiral Korthak studied the data. Perhaps they are scouts for a larger invasion force. Small, peaceful ships sent ahead to make us lower our guard. Elder, Lumara shook her head. Look at the ship's design more carefully. It is built for long-term habitation and comfort, not for scouting or fighting. See these large open spaces? They appear to be gathering areas for their crew. Exactly, Vextar said. The humans have invited us to observe what they call a worship ceremony. They want to show us how they gather together for spiritual purposes. War General Thaxon made a sound of disgust. Spiritual purposes? What does that mean? We are not entirely sure, Vextar admitted. They speak of concepts like prayer, worship, and finding inner peace. These ideas are not in our databases for any known space-traveling species. Meanwhile, on the human ship's sacred journey, Captain Deho was preparing his crew for the most important ceremony of their lives. Word had spread throughout the ship that alien beings would be watching their service. Are we ready? Deho asked, his senior staff. Sora checked her communication equipment. The aliens have set up a video link. They'll be able to see and hear everything that happens in the main chapel. Tae Jin looked nervous. Captain, what if this goes wrong? What if they misunderstand what we're doing? Then we'll explain it to them, Daeho replied calmly. Truth and peace always find a way to reach open hearts. Pastor Hyunwoo joined them, along with Ji-hoon the Buddhist monk and Yoonji the interfaith coordinator. Behind them came Muslim Imam Rahman, Jewish Rabbi Isaac, and Hindu priestess Priya. We've planned a simple service, Hyunwoo explained. Representatives from each faith tradition will share a prayer or reading. We'll sing some songs together. Ji-hoon will lead us in meditation. The whole thing should take about an hour. Remember, Yoonji added, we want to show them that different beliefs can exist together in harmony. That might be the most important lesson we can share. Back on the alien ship, the Galactic Federation Council was still debating what to do about the humans. I say we should be cautious, War General Thaxon declared. History shows that unknown species are usually dangerous. We should disable their ship and question them properly. That would be unwise, Elder Lumara objected. If they truly are peaceful, attacking them would make us the aggressors. The Celestial Collective has ancient texts that speak of a species who would carry light between the stars. Perhaps these humans are that species. Fleet Admiral Korthak looked skeptical. Ancient prophecies and mystical texts? We need to make decisions based on facts, not old stories. But what are the facts? Asked Council Member Villana of the Science Corps. A species has achieved space, travel without focusing on warfare or conquest. That has never happened before in recorded galactic history. We need to understand how this is possible. Commander Vextar nodded. That is why I recommend we observe their ceremony as they have offered. Perhaps seeing their behavior will help us understand their true nature. Very well, War General Thaxon said reluctantly, but I want military ships standing by, just in case this is some kind of trick. Agreed, said Fleet Admiral Korthak, but they stay hidden unless we detect actual danger. Elder Lamara smiled softly. I sense we are about to witness something remarkable, something that may change our understanding of what intelligent life can become. The council meeting ended, and Vextar returned to his bridge. His crew was setting up the viewing equipment to observe the human ceremony. Everyone seemed curious but nervous about what they were about to see. Sir, Kethral reported, the humans say they are ready to begin whenever we are. Communications are clear, added Nexil. We'll be able to see and hear everything. Vextar looked around at his crew. They had all traveled the galaxy for years, meeting different species and learning about various cultures. But none of them had ever encountered anything like this. Very well, he said. Tell the humans we are ready. Let us see what makes them so different from every other species we have known. On the human ship, Daeho received the message and smiled. He walked to the main chapel, which was already filled with people from his crew. The room was simple but beautiful, with wooden benches arranged in rows facing a small stage area. Soft lights created a warm, peaceful atmosphere. My friends, Daeho announced to the gathered crowd, today we have the honor of sharing our faith with our new alien neighbors. They are watching us to learn who we are and what we believe. Let us show them the love, peace, and unity that brought us to the stars. The human crew members smiled and nodded. They had practiced this moment many times, but now it was real. Somewhere out in space, alien beings were preparing to watch them worship and pray. Pastor Hyunwoo stepped forward to begin the service. Let us start with a moment of silence, he said, to remember why we are here and what we hope to achieve. The chapel fell quiet. 200 humans bowed their heads in silent prayer, while alien eyes watched from the darkness of space. Neither the humans nor the aliens knew that this simple act of worship was about to shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The top questions raised by humanity's peaceful nature would soon spread throughout the galaxy, challenging every assumption about how intelligent species should behave. The ceremony was about to begin, and with it, a new chapter in the history of the Universe. The main chapel of the sacred journey had never been more important than it was at this moment. 200 humans sat quietly in wooden benches, while invisible alien eyes watched through cameras and sensors. The room glowed with soft, warm light that seemed to make everything peaceful. Pastor Hyunwoo stood at the front of the chapel. His gray hair was neatly combed, and he wore simple white robes. Behind him, representatives from different faiths waited their turn to speak. The moment of silent prayer ended, and Hyunwoo smiled at the gathered crowd. "Friends, we gather today not just as humans but as children of the universe," he began. "We come from different countries, different traditions, different ways of understanding the divine. But we are united in our search for meaning, peace, and love." On the alien ship, Commander Vextar watched the viewing screen with fascination. The humans looked completely relaxed and happy. There was no tension, no fear, no signs of deception that their sensors usually detected in other species. "Sir," whispered Science Officer Kethrall, "look at these readings. The humans' brain activity is changing. They're entering some kind of altered state." Vexitar studied the data. The humans' stress hormones were decreasing while chemicals associated with peace and happiness were increasing. Whatever they were doing, it was having a real physical effect on their bodies. Back in the chapel, Hyunwoo continued speaking. "Today we share our service with new friends who have traveled from distant stars. We hope to show them that intelligence can choose peace over war, love over fear, unity over division." He gestured to Buddhist monk Ji-hoon, who stepped forward and bowed slightly to the camera that would transmit his image to the aliens. "In the Buddhist tradition," Ji-hoon said in his quiet, gentle voice, "we seek to understand that all life is connected. The pain of one becomes the pain of all. The joy of one becomes the joy of all. When we realize this truth, we naturally choose compassion over violence." Ji-hoon sat down in a meditation posture and closed his eyes. "Let us spend a few minutes in silent meditation, feeling our connection to all beings in the universe, including our new friends who watch us now." The entire chapel fell silent. 200 humans closed their eyes and began to meditate. Some focused on their breathing, others repeated quiet prayers. All of them searched inward for peace and understanding. On the alien ship, something extraordinary began to happen. The sensors that monitored the human ship started detecting unusual energy patterns. "Commander," Kethrall said with amazement in his voice, "you need to see this. The humans are generating some kind of harmonic frequency. It's very weak, but it's definitely there." "What kind of frequency?" Vextar asked. "I've never seen anything like it. It seems to match the background vibration of space itself. It's as if they're somehow connecting with the fundamental energy of the universe." The meditation continued for 10 minutes. During that time, the alien sensors detected the strange energy field growing stronger. More surprisingly, some of the alien crew members reported feeling unusually calm and peaceful. "Sir," communications specialist Nexel said quietly, "I feel different, relaxed." It started when the humans began their meditation. Tactical Officer Zoran nodded. "I feel it too. It's like the anger I always carry has just faded away." When the meditation ended, Imam Rahman stepped forward. He was a tall man with a dark beard wearing traditional Islamic robes. "In Islam," he said, "we believe that all creation praises the Creator in its own way. The stars sing, the planets dance, and conscious beings like ourselves can choose to join this cosmic celebration through prayer and worship." He began to recite a prayer in Arabic, then translated it into the common language the ship used. The prayer spoke of peace, mercy, and the unity of all creation under one divine source. Jewish Rabbi Isaac followed him. He was an elderly man with a white beard and kind eyes. "The Jewish tradition teaches us that we are partners with the divine in creating a better world," he said. "We call this tikkun olam, repairing the world. Every act of kindness, every moment of justice, every choice for peace over violence helps heal the universe itself." Hindu priestess Priya came next. She wore colorful robes and had painted symbols on her forehead. "Hinduism teaches us that the divine exists in all things," she explained. "Every star, every planet, every living being contains a spark of the same universal consciousness. When we recognize this truth, we cannot help but treat all life with respect and love." As each religious leader spoke, The alien sensors continued to detect the strange energy patterns. But more than that, they detected something in the humans themselves, a genuine belief in what they were saying, a deep peace that came from their faith. On the Galactic Federation Council ship, War General Thaxon watched the ceremony with growing confusion and unease. His people, the Draconians, had been warriors for thousands of years. They believed that strength came from conquest and that peace was a sign of weakness. But something about watching the humans was stirring old memories. Deep in the Draconian archives were ancient texts that spoke of a time before war, when his people had practiced something called soul harmony. He had always dismissed these texts as myths. Elder Lamara, he said quietly to the Celestial Collective representative, "Your people have always spoken of spiritual matters. What do you make of this?" Elder Lamara's eyes were filled with tears of joy. "General, we are witnessing something that has not been seen in the galaxy for millions of years. These humans have achieved what we thought was impossible. They have maintained their spiritual nature while advancing to space travel." Back in the chapel, the service was reaching its climax. Yunji, the interfaith coordinator, stood up and nodded to Taijin, who had been waiting with his violin. "Music is the universal language," Yunji announced. "It speaks to hearts in ways that words cannot reach. Let us sing together not just as humans, but as voices in the great chorus of creation." Taijin began to play a beautiful melody on his violin. The sound filled the chapel and transmitted to the alien ship, where it created harmonics that their sensors had never detected before. Sora stood up and began to sing. Her voice was clear and beautiful, singing in a language that mixed words from many different human tongues. Soon other crew members joined in, creating a harmony that seemed to make the entire ship vibrate with peaceful energy. The aliens listening were stunned. Their translation computers could not process all the words, but the meaning came through clearly. This was a song of hope, love, and universal brotherhood. "Sir," Kethral reported with wonder, "the energy field around their ship is now visible to our optical sensors. It's like a soft light surrounding the entire vessel." Commander Vexitar stared at the viewing screen. Indeed, there was a faint glow around the human ship that pulsed gently in rhythm with their singing. As the service concluded, Pastor Hyunwoo returned to the front of the chapel. "We end today with a prayer for our new friends among the stars," he said. "May they find the same peace we have found. May they discover that the universe is not a place of endless conflict, but a place of infinite love waiting to be shared." The humans bowed their heads one final time. The energy field around their ship pulsed brighter for a moment, then slowly faded as the ceremony ended. On the alien ship, the crew sat in stunned silence. They had just witnessed something that challenged everything they thought they knew about intelligent life. War General Thaxon's voice came over the communication system, and for the first time in years it sounded uncertain instead of angry. "Commander Vextar," he said slowly, "I need to ask these humans about something, about old stories my people used to tell, before we became warriors, about something we called soul harmony." The aliens realized they had just seen proof that intelligence could evolve beyond warfare and conquest. They had witnessed the power of genuine faith and spiritual connection, and they had felt, for just a moment, what it might be like to live in peace instead of constant conflict. The humans had shared their most sacred gift with the galaxy. Now everything would change. 3 months had passed since the first worship service aboard the Sacred Journey. The human ship now hung in orbit around the 4th planet in the system, where construction had begun on the spiritual center they had originally come to build. But the center was no longer just for humans. Captain Dae-ho stood on the observation deck, looking down at the planet's surface where buildings were taking shape. Alien construction ships worked alongside human vessels. Species that had never cooperated before were now building something together, a place where beings from across the galaxy could come to explore questions of meaning and purpose. "Captain," Sora called from behind him, "we have another request for spiritual guidance, this time from the Zephyrian Trade Consortium. They want to send representatives to learn about meditation techniques." Dae-ho smiled. In the past 3 months, 17 different alien species had sent delegations to meet with the humans. Word of the worship service had spread throughout the Galactic Federation, creating more curiosity and debate than anything in recent galactic history. "Tell them we'll be happy to meet with them," Deho replied. "Schedule them for next week after the Crystalline Collective finishes their visit." The changes had not been easy for everyone. Many species in the galaxy had built their entire civilizations around concepts like conquest, competition, and survival of the strongest. The idea that intelligence could choose cooperation over conflict challenged their most basic beliefs. But the changes had been most dramatic in War General Thaxon. The Draconian leader had arrived 2 weeks ago, traveling in a small personal ship instead of his usual war fleet. He now spent his days in the human chapel, learning meditation from Ji-Hoon and studying the ancient Draconian texts he had brought with him. "General Thaxon," Hyunwoo said as he entered the chapel where the large red-scaled alien sat in meditation posture. "How are you feeling today?" Thaxon opened his eyes and looked at the human pastor. 3 months ago he would have considered such a question an insult. Warriors were not supposed to discuss feelings, but now he was learning that understanding his inner self was just as important as understanding his enemies. "I feel confused but hopeful," Thaxon replied in his deep voice. "For 1,000 years my people have believed that strength comes only through domination. But these old texts speak of a different kind of strength. A strength that comes from inner peace." "What do the texts say?" Hyunwoo asked, sitting down beside the massive alien. "They tell of a time when Draconians were known throughout the galaxy as healers and teachers instead of warriors. They speak of something called soul fire, an inner light that could inspire others to find their own peace." Thaxon looked down at his clawed hands. "I had always thought these stories were myths created by the weak. Now I wonder if they were memories of who we used to be." Meanwhile, in the ship's main meeting room, Elder Lamara of the Celestial Collective was working with Unji to plan something unprecedented. The first Galactic Interfaith Council. "The response has been overwhelming," Lomara reported. 43 species have expressed interest in sending representatives. Even some of the most militant races want to learn more about spiritual development. Yunji looked at the list of participating species with amazement. "I never dreamed we would see anything like this. Beings who have been enemies for centuries, willing to sit together and discuss peace. The humans have given us something we did not know we were missing," Lumara said. "Hope for evolution beyond endless conflict." On the planet's surface, engineer Tae-jin was working with alien technicians to install a special sound system in the main gathering hall of the spiritual center. The system was designed to accommodate the hearing ranges and communication methods of dozens of different species. Tae-jin called Architect Morvell of the Silicon-based collective. "Will this system be able to handle our harmonic speech patterns?" "Yes," Tae-jin replied, making adjustments to the frequency modulators. "We've tested it with 17 different communication types so far. Everyone should be able to participate fully in the services." The Silicon-based collective was one of the most surprising additions to the project. They were ancient beings made of living crystal who had spent millions of years focused purely on logical thought and scientific research. The idea of exploring emotions and spirituality was completely new to them, but they were eager to learn. Back on the sacred journey, Captain Deho was receiving a communication from Fleet Admiral Korthak of the Military Defense Corps. "Captain Deho," the Admiral said, his image appearing on the communication screen. "I have been authorized by the Galactic Federation Council to make you an offer." "What kind of offer, Admiral?" Deho asked. "We want to create a new division within the Federation, a Peace and Spiritual Development Corps. We would like you and your crew to lead this new organization." Deho was quiet for a moment, considering this unexpected opportunity. What would this organization do? Travel to worlds experiencing conflict or spiritual emptiness, the Admiral explained. Share the techniques you have developed for creating peace and cooperation between different groups. Help species rediscover their own spiritual traditions that may have been lost to warfare or materialism. We would need to think about this carefully, Deho replied. Our mission has always been about service, not power or authority. That "Is exactly why we want you to lead it," Admiral Korthak said. "You have shown that true leadership comes from humility and service to others." Later that day, Dae-ho called a meeting of his senior staff to discuss the Federation's offer. "It would mean giving up our original plan to settle here permanently," Mi-young pointed out. "Instead, we would be traveling constantly, going wherever we are needed." "But think of the possibilities," Sora said excitedly. "We could help end conflicts that have lasted for centuries. We could help species discover their own paths to peace." Taejin looked thoughtful. The ship would need major modifications to accommodate different alien species and their spiritual practices. It would be like creating a mobile interfaith center. Ji-hoon spoke quietly, as was his way. "The Buddha taught that our purpose is to reduce suffering wherever we find it. If we can help bring peace to the galaxy, how can we refuse?" Pastor Hyun-woo nodded. "Every great spiritual tradition teaches that we are called to serve others. This seems like the ultimate expression of that calling." Yoonji smiled. "I've spent my career helping different human faiths work together. Imagine helping different species find common ground. It would be the greatest interfaith challenge in galactic history." That evening, Dae-ho walked through the ship's corridors, thinking about the decision they faced. He passed the chapel, where he could hear War General Thaxon practicing draconian soul harmony chants that had not been heard in the galaxy for 1,000 years. He stopped by the meditation room, where several crystalline collective members were learning to experience emotions for the first time in their million-year existence. In the art studio, he found Zephyrian traders working with human artists to create sculptures that expressed concepts of peace in both their cultures. The Boar ship had become exactly what they had dreamed of when they left: Earth, a place where beings of different backgrounds could come together to explore the deepest questions of existence. The next morning, Dae-ho sent his answer to the Galactic Federation Council. "We accept your offer to create the Peace and Spiritual Development Corps," he said. "But we have conditions. This organization must always remain independent of political and military control. Its only mission must be to serve those who seek peace and understanding, and it must always welcome beings of all species and all beliefs." Admiral Korthak smiled. "Those conditions are exactly why we know you are the right choice to lead this effort." 6 months later, the Sacred Journey had been transformed into the flagship of the new Peace Corps. The ship now carried spiritual teachers and peace counselors from 30 different species. Its cargo holds contained sacred texts and ceremonial objects from hundreds of different traditions. Their first mission took them to the border between the militant hegemony and the Democratic Alliance, where a war had been raging for 50 years. When they arrived, both sides were suspicious and hostile. But when the diverse crew of the Sacred Journey began holding their daily worship services, combining human prayers with draconian soul harmony, crystalline logic meditation, and celestial energy weaving, something amazing happened. Soldiers on both sides stopped fighting to listen. The ancient human truth that music and prayer could touch hearts across any barrier proved itself once again on a galactic scale. The war did not end overnight. But for the first time in 50 years, representatives from both sides agreed to meet and talk instead of shoot. Word of the Peace Corps spread throughout the galaxy. Soon requests for help were coming from worlds that had forgotten what peace even meant. Species that had spent centuries in isolation were asking to learn about cooperation. The humans had given the galaxy something it had never expected: proof that evolution could lead not to greater weapons or faster ships, but to greater wisdom and deeper compassion. As the Sacred Journey traveled from system to system, bringing hope to worlds lost in conflict, Captain Dae-ho often remembered that first.